I'm Kiersten Wise, Extension Specialist for Field Crop Diseases at Purdue University, and I'm standing in an Indiana soybean field to discuss seedling blights. We've had very wet conditions this year, and saturated soils have put a lot of our soybeans at risk for seedling blights. Some of the first symptoms of seedling blights that will appear in fields will be the appearance of plants dying prematurely. You'll see gaps in soybean stand between plants. Oftentimes you might see poor or uneven emergence where soybeans are emerging slowly and have reduced vigor. These are all indications of a below ground problem, which could be a seedling blight issue. There are four main groups of seedling blights. We commonly see Pythium, Phytophthora, Fusarium and Rhizoctonia seedling blights in Indiana. Each of these seedling blights is favored by their own sets of conditions, which we've had plenty of each of the sets of conditions in Indiana this year. Pythium is caused by Pythium species and is more common in cool, wet soils. Typically, Pythium is one of the first seedling blights we see appear in soybeans. It's characterized by a mushy rot. Seedlings will die in patches, and if you dig up these seedlings, you'll notice that the roots seem wet or soft, and often will come apart in your hands very easily. Phytophthora is also a seedling blight that's common when we have wet conditions. Ponding, very heavy wet soils all favor Phytophthora infection. Phytophthora usually infects during warmer temperatures than Pythium, and so this one we can often see a little later in the season. It is also one that causes kind of a mushy, soft rot in the seedlings. Seedlings will yellow and wilt and die back, and that's one indication that it might be a Phytophthora issue. Our other two seedling blights are caused by true fungi, which are Fusarium and Rhizoctonia. Now these fungi infect under a wider range of conditions, wet to dry and warm to cool, and so these are two that can be very common in a lot of Indiana fields. Fusarium root rot will cause dark discoloration on roots. If plants are dug up and washed, you'll see dark lesions on these roots that is indicative of Fusarium. Rhizoctonia will also cause a rot on the roots and crown, and often the first indication is a red lesion at the soil line. It's very difficult to diagnose seedling blights in the field since some of the symptoms of the individual seedling blights may appear similar. For proper diagnosis, remember to submit samples to the Purdue Plant and Pest Diagnostic Lab. Currently, there are no in-season management options for seedling blights, but it is important to properly identify which seedling blights you have for future management decisions. If you confirm seedling blights in your field, there are a few steps that you can take to minimize the impact of these diseases in the future. The first would be to select a fungicide seed treatment that's effective against the organisms that are present in that particular field. As plant pathologists, we compile a list of available seed treatments and their efficacy against certain organisms every year. These are updated annually and available on our Purdue websites. There are some other steps that you can take to minimize the impact of seedling blights. In an ideal world, we would plant soybeans into warm, dry seed beds where they would emerge quickly. However, in Indiana, this is a difficult task. Anything that you can do to reduce compaction and improve drainage will also reduce the risk of seedling blights in those fields.